Next on our agenda, board members, it's our general consent calendar at this time. Is there anything that we need to pull off our general consent? Board member Jenny Earl?
Yes, I would like to pull off number 3 and number 4, please.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, seeing none, I'm seeking a motion to approve the general consent calendar. A motion and a second. Not seeing any discussion, so let's vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Vote is unanimous. Board member Earl, let's start with number 3. Appointment of NASB voting delegates and direction on NASB bylaws and positions.
So this has to do with the bylaws and positions. Specifically, let me get down to the page here. Some of the positions I would like us to take a look at, and specifically the birth to grade 3 element of early childhood. I would like to know why public education is, and what they intend to do with 1-year-olds, 6-month-olds. I understand that we want kids to come prepared. And I just wonder where public education in Utah, I've been told we're a K-12 program. I know we work with preschool because that's what we've been doing. But I'm not sure this position aligns maybe with what Utah, the direction to take. So I'd like us to, I don't know whether we need dialogue on that, or or whether make a proposal that we do not support the NASB bylaws. What would you like to do?
Well, you can make a motion, be specific to
Okay,
not support those.
all right, give me just 1 second. then.
Okay, let's,
So let me get it specifically what line, so if you go,
is that coming up on our, we're bringing it up on here too. So your motion, you're proposing a motion to,
so on page 9, which is under the academic content standards, it's 7 on the NASB paper, but it's page 9 on my document, because I think there's a summary on the top. Under the academic content standards, where it says commitment to improving standards, alignments, and coherence to support learning in a close partnership with birth through grade 3 early childhood education systems. So,
okay,
that's
are you in?
That's one, and then on page 11, it does the same thing too. Review accountability accreditation systems in collaboration with stakeholders to ensure it creates the conditions, supports, and incentives to improve opportunities and outcomes for all students. And then it says, including children from birth to grade 3.
So you're wanting to omit,
Yes,
or not?
yeah, remove those.
That's going to be really
Okay.
specific to,
Sorry, I was not sure exactly
Well,
what needed to be done with this
but it-
today, so I apologize
so
for that.
I'm trying to catch up. Did you find it, Vice Chair?
Yeah, and I had asked,
It's on page 7 of the document.
Yeah, making it-
And it's the academic content standards, 3rd bullet. You're wanting to exclude.
Janet, can we
Exclude that, but
make an amendment? I don't, she was going to check on that. I
Well,
don't know if the,
I think
It would be direction to the voting delegate to not vote on.
that's what
because I don't
you're-
know that we can make an amendment.
Yes, you can, well,
Is that
you can make a
accurate?
motion that we
can't
don't
probably
support,
change
and then our voting delegate will take that position if the board supports your position.
So-
So you're basically saying that you don't support, it's a vote of not supporting on that page 7, bullet 3, birth through grade 3 early childhood education systems. Is that?
That would be accurate. And then it's listed there twice, but yes,
Okay. Where, and wherever it's listed.
yes.
Is there a second? We have a second, so discussion to that motion, and we'll start with Board Member Janet Cannon. Speaking to the motion.
Yes. I very much appreciated Jenny calling me and alerting me to her concern about this. And we chatted a little bit about it last night. I checked the NASB bylaws. Any amendment that we would make to these positions had to be done some time ago. It requires like a 45-day
What's that?
time frame for us to turn it into NASB to amend the public education policy positions. So we're too late to do that. But we could do what Jenny is suggesting and have our voting delegate vote against the entire document of the public education positions. But she told me her concern about birth to 3, and I kind of, I agreed with her that we didn't want the state to go in and start programming official education for our kids when they're 1 or younger or whatever, that's a little bit far-fetched. But I did afterwards do some thinking about the birth to 3rd grade continuum and looked up several documents about where they must have got this and where it was coming from and what they're meaning by that. And so I have some documentation here if anyone's interested. I've shared it with Jenny. Let me just tell you a little bit about what this says. It talks about persistent achievement gaps among children begin as early as 18 months, years before most publicly funded pre-kindergarten programs offer enrollment. They talk about proper brain development requires adequate nutrition, access to quality health care, other early interventions to promote social, emotional, and physical well-being. They talk about engaging parents, having early literacy interventions and home visits to ensure that every child enters school ready to learn. So having done and read a lot about what the birth to 3rd grade concern is, it's that they want kids to have the ability to access state services for proper nutrition. They want them to have services for health care, and they want to start aligning the curriculum that preschools are given so that they can be aligned, and when they get to kindergarten, these kids enter ready to learn, and they aren't so far behind that they are never able to catch up to that ability to be literate by 3rd grade, because we know that if kids aren't literate by that time of their life, that they never really can quite catch up and do well. So I think that's why the public education positions took this idea of integrating birth to 3rd grade. It goes up to 3rd grade because that is the time when literacy, the ability to be literate, is so essential for kids. So I think that's what they're doing.
Okay.
And I myself would be supportive of what NASB has done here.
Okay.
I understand it better than I did when we talked.
There's some other comments in that, but I'm going to go to the superintendent. Superintendent Dixon.
Thank you, Chair Huntsman. I have a clarifying question. Yesterday was our first Early Childhood Commission meeting for the Governor's Early Childhood Commission, which is statutory in nature and names the superintendent role as a part of that commission. And when we talk about the 0 to 3 space, I mean, there are people at the table that work in a variety of services. It's always in the frame of supporting parents and providing resources for parents. So it's about talking, singing to your kids, doing simple activities with them, but it's never about the curriculum. It's really parent-based and home-based and supporting parents. Is that in the NASB vernacular? I was just looking through and didn't see it explicitly, but that's the way generally I hear that birth to 3 especially talked about. It's the health, well-being, but it's resources and access for parents to those resources and pushing those out so that parents in their language or whatever know where to access resources.
Yes, that's over and over again. We have resources available. We need to facilitate parents accessing those resources. There's another one. This is from Illinois. It says, children have been found to perform better in school when their parents or primary caregivers are included as a part of their education. So I don't think there's any idea here of forcing something from the state or, on a national level, the feds forcing anything. This is supporting these kids, particularly kids who are at risk, so they have the best opportunity to get a good education they can.
Board Member Linda Hansen.
Hi, I think I could probably shed some light. I'm on the Early Childhood Education NASB committee that looked at this. So when we're talking about birth through grade 3 early childhood education systems, we're talking about collaborating with agencies, state agencies that are already going out and talking to parents and doing home visits and teaching parents how to interact with their children. Some people don't know how to interact with their children. They don't know it's important to read to their children. They talk about, we did a whole presentation on dual language, parents who get their children up to speed with reading and writing in the second language. Those kids are way ahead of the other kids, and so they want to go out and teach those parents or let those parents know that's a thing they can do to help their children. So this is all in, like Dr. Dixon said, it's in giving parents resources to make sure that their students are ready.
Board Member Cindy Davis.
Oh, just a question. We are the board for a school that has a massive parent-infant program. So I guess the question is I always want more clarity, I guess, from you. Are we suggesting to take that out? Because not supporting that would suggest taking out the parent-infant program from Utah Schools for the Deaf and Blind. Like my son, it was a year, he got served by Kids on the Move who works closely with our school district.
So your question,
My question is to the motion, if we can get some clarity on what the thought is behind.
We already have resources available for children that need resources available. So when we're adding this in, I think we're saying something more. And I don't know what that is because that's not spelled out. If you have a child with a severe learning disability or some kind of a need at a young age, they are getting those resources. Yeah.
okay.
That depends. My concern is I don't think we know for sure what this all entails. And to say it's just going to be educating parents. Some of the other information I read here, universal access to universal early learning services. What is that? There's a lot, it doesn't spell those out. And that's why I'm asking the question. Until we know exactly what this is, those services, I don't think as voting no on this, it says we won't be doing those services anymore. That's not what that says, because by law, we do things for youth that are in need, especially from birth, if there is a specific need for that. But I think this is saying something more. It's expanding beyond that. And that's the concern, is that we're going into the homes. And we're always doing things for at-risk kids, but I think it starts in one area here. It says it starts with the at-risk, and then we'll move forward from there. So I think it's going beyond that, and that's my concern.
Vice Chair Brittany Cummins.
I'm reading this as a position. So we as a state, or do we, kind of stand in this position? And bullet 3, it says commit to improving alignment and coherence to support learning in close partnership with, sorry, I missed the word standards alignment. So commit to improving standards alignment, and that's within our wheelhouse. We are K-12, and we talk about standards. We also are required to create standards for preschools. And so are these standards aligned, and are we working with the other agencies that are currently in existence so that the work they're doing, that we're aligned, that we're not, they're saying one thing and we're saying another once they get into the realm of our responsibility. And so I'm reading this as an improved partnership, improved alignment in order to meet these needs. Not that we're going to extend ourselves into personally meeting these needs, but we want to make sure that we are aligned with those services that are already taking place. And so that's how I'm reading this and why I would be in support of this particular policy position as a state.
Okay, the motion before the board is to have our delegates take a position not to support that third bullet on page 7 regarding
Be all the bylaws, then we just their bylaws.
so it will be the whole bylaw. And yeah, the way that this is put together, so it would be not in support the way the bylaws are written, not omitting this because it's too late. So is that still your motion then, is not to support it because there's not an opportunity to amend, but they can speak to why they don't support it for this, so. Board Member Bolter?
There's also another spot where birth through third grade is also, it's on page 11, public education positions towards, it's like the second to last bullet point. And it's review accountability and accreditation systems in collaboration with stakeholders to ensure it creates conditions, supports, and incentives to improve opportunities and outcomes for all students, including children from birth to grade 3. And so that's also concerning to me because I don't recall having any accountability and accreditation systems for a 3-month-old. And so I understand the supports, and I'm all for that, but I have concerns with the direction. What is the direction that this is heading towards? Are we going to, sometime in the future, ask for accountability systems to make sure that our children are crawling by, 6 months and walking by a year? I just am wondering. And then I had somebody say to me once, which I find extremely true, that if we sent our children at 6 months old to learn to walk in a public school system, then after one generation, we would begin to think that the only place that a child could learn to walk is in a public school system. So I just have concerns about what the direction this is going. And I understand supporting systems or things that are already in place, but I see the writing on the wall. More and more parents are being pushed out of the public school system. And I have great concerns when it talks about birth and grade 3. And my child is one. When people talk about somebody not reading by grade 3 and then they're never going to catch up, my son didn't read until grade 5. He's now in 8th grade, an excellent reader. I do homeschool him. He's an excellent reader and an excellent writer. So I don't know that I buy into a lot of the stuff too.
So the motion before the board then is to not support the proposed public ed positions. Have our delegate not support the proposed public ed positions. I'm not seeing any discussion, so let's vote. Is that, if that's, there's a board. So the motion before the board is that we have our delegate not support the public ed positions. All in favor of that not supporting, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. Okay, with the ayes, raise your hand and be recognized. Board Member Scott Nielsen, Board Member Jenny Earl, Board Member Belknap, Board Member Bolter. Okay, the amendment, it's not really an amendment, it's a motion not support, so it fails. Board Member Earl, you had number 4 pulled. You want to speak to that? Yes, I do. Do I have you? There we go.
Let me get just down to it real quick here.
That's
So
an
is-
actionable item on the NASB dues. Actionable item. Okay.
The one we just did is that.
Oh, no. Well, let's go back.
Okay.
But I'm out of sequence, so Board Member Earl, hang on
That's
one
all
sec. So with that passing, it's still an actionable item. Is there a motion to support? Well, Board Member Linda Hansen.
I move that we support the NASB policy. Is
Okay,
it
we have a
policy?
motion to support the NASB.
Thank you.
And to
I'm going to it now.
What are the recommendations?
Back. I got out of sequence here.
And recommend that our
It's a
delegate vote in
request for
favor.
let's see, it's the
Is that the way?
NASB, appointment of NASB voting delegates and direction on NASB bylaws and position. That's the one that we pulled on.
Right, so I move that we ask our delegate,
A motion to approve the appointment of the NASB voting delegates and direction on NASB bylaws and positions.
right, so
That
do we
be your
need to tell
motion?
them how to vote on it?
What's that?
Yeah,
In favor of.
in favor of that, right? Thank you.
And then we have a second. Board Member Lear. So the way that I'll state this is a motion to approve the appointment of NASB voting delegates and the direction on NASB bylaws and positions.
In favor.
In favor of, yeah. That's how it's spelled out. We have a second discussion to that motion. Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No. Well, the ayes, raise your hand and be recognized. We have Board Member Linda Hansen, Board Member Mike Haynes, Board Member Cindy Davis, Board Member Newell, Board Member Belknap, Board Member Scott Hansen, Board Member Earl, Board Member Lear, Board Member Cannon, Board Member Marsh, Vice Chair Brittany Cummins. The nays. Did you get the nays or the 3? Motion passes. And now if we, Board Member Earl to speak to the NASB dues on, that was number 4, which is actionable.
So I just have a question maybe on this, and that is, we can still attend conferences without actually being a member of NASB. Is that accurate?
My understanding is yes.
Okay.
My,
The advantage is it's cheaper for us? Is that
it's,
what?
there's some savings on it, and then you also participate in, you can attend, but to be actively participating is a different story, and maybe Vice Chair Brittany Cummins can speak to that where you've been there.
So I'd say the difference between attending a conference and being a member of NASB is that we have somebody from Utah actually sitting on the NASB board. So it takes the voice that we share together and that we have a voice in these positions, in the concepts that NASB shares. And so it gives us a voice in this national association. If we want to just attend and listen, then yes, we can just attend and listen, but it's the participation in committees, participation on their board, et cetera, that is part of our actual membership.
All right.
So there's other people, there's not a motion, you're asking a question on it, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Board Member Lear?
Well, just quickly, my feeling is if we want to influence what these kinds of provisions say, we absolutely should be a participant, not a non-looker. And I can see why we would want to add Utah's voice to this, so I would definitely want to be a member and have the opportunity to do that as an active participant. And secondly, I think NASB does good work, and I would feel sort of irresponsible to participate in that good work without paying our share. And so I support paying the dues for this.
Board Member Scott Nielsen.
Okay, I have a quick question with NASB. I would like someone to explain specifically how our membership in this organization improves student learning in Utah classrooms. We go there, we rub shoulders, say, hey, great idea, great. We're friends, we're having a good time, we're learning about how does it impact the child in the classroom? Because I view NASB, and I hate to say this, as a monumental, colossal waste of time and money. Because I don't see how it improves student learning inside of the classroom. Some board member went to a NASB conference at the state office, and all of a sudden it's going to make education in Utah better. Is that what you're telling me? I mean, if that's true, I believe you. I just want to know exactly how we can use that data of how it's making education in our state better, because I don't see it.
Board Member Linda Hansen.
Just a partial answer. They did come out and help us with our strategic plan, and they also lobby at the national level, and help us with those things. And if we want to have a voice in that, then this is our opportunity. My motion is that we approve the NASB dues for 2020.
Can we have a motion before the board to approve the NASB dues for 2020? Is there a second? Bunch of seconds. But I believe Board Member Newell had his hand up before, so you're in the game there, Board Member Newell. A discussion to the motion to approve the dues. Board Member Jenny Earl.
Yeah, I guess I have just some concerns that we are more sovereign to an outside entity, which is a conglomeration of large group versus what is working in Utah and the things that are working here. So I have a concern that way, that somehow, I know we're saying we have a voice. I'm not sure that, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not seeing much of a voice. When I went to NASB, it was, this is what I need you to tell your legislators, this is what we need you to say, kind of a thing. And I feel like it's maybe not always what Utah's voice is, or what I'm hearing as I go around to schools and such. And so, anyways, I do have concerns about supporting that.
Okay. Board Member Janet Cannon.
Yeah, I'd like to just say a few words regarding what Board Member Nielsen's concern was. Working on the Standards and Assessment Committee, we were struggling with how often we should look at our state standards in all these different content areas and how we should revise them. I was able to contact NASB and get a wealth of information that showed us how things were done differently in different states. We didn't adopt any one of those, but we utilized that information to come up with what I think is a really grand way to handle the standards content in Utah, but it was informed by taking a look at what others had done. We are looking today at our computer science standards for K through 5. I read through our standards and felt like they weren't as strong as I would like them to be, and contacted NASB. NASB sent me computer science standards from, boy, it must have been 15 or 20 states across the nation, and I reviewed all of them. And there were a couple that I thought were very good. I made recommendations to our staff. Our staff very kindly took a look at things, and we considered things. And I think what's coming before us today is probably the best set of K-5 computer science standards in the country, but it's because we had professional help and development that we were able to get through our association with NASB. Also, we in June, we're back at NASB's new Board Member Institute, which is professional training for our board members. There's no place else that we can get professional training that's specifically designed for members of state boards of education other than NASB, and I think it's incredibly valuable. So I think our standards are going to make a difference in the classroom for our children, and that's something we're charged with the responsibility for as state board members. Thank
Vice
you.
Chair Brittany, comments?
I don't think there's a teacher in Utah who hasn't felt the effect of federal law in their classroom, right? And NASB is a very powerful lobby in Washington, D.C., and they are a powerful lobby with or without Utah. They don't need us to move forward. But if we want our voice to be part of that very strong lobby in regards to federal law, then we need to be a part of that process. We may not always have our voice be the forefront of the conversation, but if we choose to remove our voice, then we make that decision and we say, we don't want to have a say in this particular very strong voice in our nation's capital that does impact every classroom in the state. Every teacher will tell you that they felt the impact of No Child Left Behind. They felt the impact of the changes to the ESSA laws. And so that is our responsibility to be a part of that voice on a national level so that we have a say for Utah students and teachers.
Board Member Scott Nelson?
Yeah, and I would disagree with that assessment, just because when, bad laws like No Child Left Behind, they come out against it, it still passes. So, but, that's okay. We just have a difference of opinion here, so I move the previous question.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve the NASB dues for 2020. I'm not seeing any other comments, so let's vote on it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? What were we voting? This is the actual item that was pulled from consent, number 4, the NASB dues. I know, but I took the privilege, because there wasn't any comments, to end debate. It was already ended. So I'll restate the motion, and that is, the motion before the board is to approve the NASB dues for 2020. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. Would the ayes, raise your hand, be recognized. Board Member Linda Hansen, Board Member Mike Haynes, Board Member Davis, Board Member Newell, Board Member Belknap, Board Member Scott Hansen, Board Member Gravitt, Board Member Lear, Board Member Cannon, Board Member Mark, Vice Chair Brittany Cummins. Get the nays?
Can I get the noes?
The noes, raise. Scott Nielsen, Jenny Earl, and Board Member Walter. Okay, motion passes. That's everything that was pulled from our consent calendar.